Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Emily. What happened with my uncle will absolutely shock you. If you stay with me until the end of my story, I've got a surprising twist waiting for you. Let's dive in without wasting any more time. I never imagined my life could get this complicated, or spiral so out of control. If someone had told me this story years ago, I probably would have laughed it off. But here I am, carrying a secret that has reshaped my entire life. It all started when my relationship with Matt ended. We'd been together for 3 years, and I thought we had a future. But one day out of nowhere, he hit me with the worst words I've ever heard. "I don't think I love you anymore." My world came crashing down. I stopped eating, couldn't sleep, and stayed locked in my room for days. My family was worried, but I didn't want to talk to anyone. Then one day there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, I saw my Uncle Jack standing there. Jack is my mom's older brother, usually quiet and reserved at family gatherings. He was never really close with us, and mostly kept to himself. But that day there was something different about him. With a gentle expression and a calm voice, he said, "Emily, can we talk for a bit?" At first I wanted to turn him away, but there was a softness in his tone that stopped me. I agreed to sit and talk with him. Jack's way of talking to me was unlike anyone else's. He listened without judgment. We ended up talking for hours. For the first time I realized there was so much more to him than I had thought. And he didn't just stop by. Once he started coming every week, taking me out to get some fresh air. First it was simple walks in the park, then coffee outings. And soon I found myself looking forward to spending more time with him. Our connection grew deeper in a way I never expected. Casual chats turned into long, meaningful conversations about life, purpose, and everything in between. Jack gave me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. It even made me question my relationship with Matt. Had I made a mistake by putting him on a pedestal? Or was real love supposed to feel like what Jack made me feel? One evening, Jack invited me over to his house. "I got a new record you have to hear," he said. A small voice in my head told me spending this much time with him might not be right. But I couldn't help myself. Jack's house was a reflection of his personality. Walls adorned with vintage movie posters and antique guitar in the corner, and shelves overflowing with books. Felt like stepping into a storybook. That night as the record played, there were moments when our eyes met and neither of us spoke. The silence carried more meaning than words ever could. For the first time I felt something I couldn't name: fear and excitement all at once. Before I knew it, Jack became the center of my life. I didn't want to go a day without being near him. But deep down I knew the bond we were forming was treading dangerous waters. Inside I was battling conflicting emotions. I wondered if Jack felt the same way I did, or if it was all in my head. One rainy afternoon we went for a long walk. Jack seemed unusually quiet. "What's wrong?" I asked. He looked at me, sighed, and said, "Emily, don't you think this connection we have is a little too much?" Froze. His words hung in the air and I had no idea what to say. I knew this moment would change everything. Jack's question hit me like a ton of bricks. Every word he said made my thoughts even more tangled. On one hand I knew he had a point, but on the other I couldn't understand why he was questioning our connection. "Yeah, maybe it is," I said softly. But the look in my eyes must have spoken louder than my words. Jack noticed it too. We kept walking in silence, the rain growing heavier, neither of us sure what to do next. That evening back home my mind wouldn't stop racing. My heart pounded as I replayed everything that had happened. I tossed and turned all night, haunted by the memory of Jack's deep, searching gaze. I spent days thinking about it. What would I say the next time I saw him? Was it right to keep this connection alive? Or did I need to walk away completely? But at the same time, the thought of creating distance scared me even more. A week later I got a message from Jack. "Emily, we need to talk. Are you free today?" My breath caught as I read those words. This felt like a turning point, when that would decide where our feelings were heading. Of course, I replied and set out for his house. My heart was racing so fast. I could barely remember the drive there. When I arrived, Jack opened the door. The uncertainty on his face made me both nervous and curious. "Come in," he said quietly. We sat in his dimly lit living room, and the silence between us felt heavy, with unspoken words. Finally, Jack broke the silence. "Emily," he began, taking a deep breath, "I need to confess something. This bond between us has been on my mind a lot. First, I just wanted to help you, to be there for you. But somewhere along the way, I realized it's more than that. I wasn't just helping you. I was rediscovering parts of myself. But now these feelings, I don't know if they're right or not." His words hit me hard. Knowing he felt the same way only deepened the confusion in my heart. I nodded silently and looked away. "I feel the same, Jack," I admitted. "But is this right? Where could this lead us? What if we make everything even more complicated?" Jack looked me in the eyes. "Maybe some questions don't have answers, Emily. Maybe life is just about being honest with what we feel." At that moment, I saw Jack not just as an uncle, but as a complex person grappling with his own uncertainties. It made me realize that we all struggled to define the boundaries of right and wrong in life. After that night, Jack and I tried to keep our distance. But no matter how hard we tried, suppressing our feelings seemed impossible. What we had wasn't just about physical attraction. It was something deeper. We were connected not just as companions, but as two people sharing a profound understanding of life. One day, Jack invited me to visit an art gallery in another city. "We need to step away from everything, even if just for a day," he said. On the way there, I couldn't help but wonder how this little escape would change things between us. Walking through the galleries surrounded by paintings, I felt strangely complete with Jack by my side. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the thought of how others might judge what we shared if they saw it from the outside. That night, we decided to stay at a hotel. We booked 2 separate rooms, but the energy between us was so intense. It felt like we could still sense each other through the walls. Lying in bed, I asked myself one question over and over. Is this real, or is it just a trick of loneliness? That night at the hotel, we had agreed to stay in separate rooms, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. Memories, feelings, and every moment I had shared with Jack's world inside me like a storm. Alone in my room, I felt his presence more strongly than ever. My heartbeat quickened and my thoughts refused to settle. It was well past midnight when I found myself leaving my room. Standing in front of Jack's door, I hesitated. Part of me was unsure, but another part knew I couldn't keep ignoring this connection. Gently, I knocked. When Jack opened the door, his face was a mix of surprise and warmth. "Emily, is everything okay?" he asked. The calm, reassuring tone of his voice washed away my fears. "Yes," I said softly, "I just realized I don't want to be alone right now." Jack paused, then stepped aside to let me in. The moment I entered his room, his presence had its usual calming effect on me. We sat in silence for a while, simply finding comfort and being near each other. As we talked, our conversation flowed from shared memories to deep reflections on life, and time seemed to slip away unnoticed. "Emily," Jack said, his voice sincere, "I never thought I could feel this deeply and intensely before meeting you." His words were so honest, they made my heart race. It was then I realized the bond we shared was beyond words, something far more profound. After a while, Jack turned to me and gently took my hand. "Thank you for being here," he said. In that moment, I felt like being by his side was the most right thing I'd ever done. "Emily," Jack continued, "I don't know how life brought us here, but one thing I know for sure is this: you are special to me." His words melted away my fears and doubts, even if just for a moment. Throughout the night, we opened up to each other, sharing everything about our lives. The emotions in our eyes spoke volumes about the connection we felt. It was one of those rare moments in life when two people understand and accept each other completely, free of judgment. As the hours passed, Jack gently placed his hand on my shoulder and pulled me closer. A long, comforting silence followed. Simply being near him brought a sense of peace I had never known before. It was a moment of unparalleled intimacy, one that words could never fully capture. We spent the night side by side, finding solace in each other's presence. Those moments with him were more precious than anything else in the world. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight was streaming into the room. Jack was still there, and the peaceful expression on his face reflected a kind of genuine happiness I had never seen before. "Good morning," he said softly. In that instant, I knew my life had reached a turning point. That night would remain the most unforgettable of my life. If you'd like me to share more details about my experiences with Jack, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. I can't wait to reveal everything openly and without holding back. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.